And it's my face. Welcome back to this 1971 Giallo film recap here on The King in Giallo. So, for 1971, I did 17 in-depth film reviews, and this video will be me going over some of the films that I watched. I will be talking about the AZ cliches that I observed. I will talk about the lowest score, the highest score, what the mean is, what the most common of those AZ cliches were, what the least common were. I'll go over the ranking of the GialliTally for these films, at least what the top 10 were. I'll talk about my favorite male actor, favorite male performance, favorite female actor, favorite female performance. I'll also talk about my favorite directors for 1971, my favorite writers, favorite music, such as the composer, favorite overall score, favorite piece of music, as well as my favorite scenes, my favorite endings or reveals, my favorite kills, my favorite scripts, and then I will do my top 10 Giallo films for 1971. And let's get right to it. So first off, the 17 films that I covered in order were The Strange Vice of Mrs. Wardh, A Lizard in a Woman's Skin, The Fourth Victim, The Cat o' Nine Tails, The Black Belly of the Tarantula, The Night Evelyn Came Out of the Grave, Slaughter Hotel, The Case of the Scorpion's Tail, An Ideal Place to Kill, also called Oasis of Fear, The Iguana with the Tongue of Fire, Four Flies on Grey Velvet, The Fifth Chord, Cold Eyes of Fear, A Bay of Blood, The Blood-Stained Butterfly, Short Night of Glass Dolls, and Death Walks on High Heels. So first, let's talk about the lowest score for the AZ cliches. The films with the lowest scores on that were, it was two films that both got 13 out of 26 of the AZ cliches, and those were Cold Eyes of Fear and The Fourth Victim, which is sounds about right, because both of those films were two movies that I talked about as, some circles are going to say these are not Giallo films. And in fact, neither of these films were mentioned in Troy Howard's book that I use as my main resource when I'm covering Giallo films. So seems about right. The highest score for 1971 was 22 out of 26 cliches. And again, this was a tie between two films. They were the most recent films, Short Night of Glass Dolls and Death Walks on High Heels. And then the average score for the AZ cliches for the 17 films was 17.4 out of 26. The most common AZ cliches I observed were E is for eyeballs, F is for fashion, which again, I basically always give F is for fashion if I can justify it in some way, and I don't think there's been a movie yet that I haven't been able to justify it, so that one kind of goes without saying. Q is for questions, S is for secrets, T is for telephone, Y is for yelling, and Z is for zoom. Those cliches were observed in all 17 films. And then the least common cliches were B is for blind and P is for priest only came up 4 times, and then D is for dwarves never came up. So that's the one that was not observed at all. Before I go into the top scores for the GialliTallys, I will mention that the average score was 654.7 points. Okay, the top scores for the GialliTally were, in 10th was The Fifth Chord. It got 19 out of 26 AZ cliches and a total of 651 points. Number 9 was Death Walks on High Heels with 22 out of 26 AZ cliches and a total of 663 points. Number 8 was The Blood-Stained Butterfly with 20 out of 26 AZ cliches and a total of 679 points. Number 7 was A Bay of Blood with 18 out of 26 AZ cliches and 695 points total. Number 6 was The Strange Vice of Mrs. Wardh, 19 out of 26 AZ cliches, and 728 points. Number 5 was the black belly of the tarantula, 19 out of 26 AZ cliches, 737 points total. Number 4 was the case of the scorpion's tail with 19 out of 26 AZ cliches and 741 points total. Number 3 was a lizard in a woman's skin, 17 out of 26 AZ cliches, 762 points total. Number 2 was Slaughter Hotel, 14 out of 26 AZ cliches, 827 points total. And number 1, which is currently first in the GialliTally, is Short Night of Glass Dolls, 22 out of 26 of AZ cliches, 968 points total. Okay, my favorite male actors for 1971 in Giallo films were Jorge Rigaud, Giancarlo Giannini, Frank Wolff, Carl Malden, Franco Nero, Helmut Berger, Luigi Pistilli, Alberto de Mendoza, Ivan Rasimov, George Hilton, John Sorrell. But my favorite male performance overall is Carl Malden in The Cat o' Nine Tails. He just owns that character, and it is easily one of the greatest characters in a Giallo. Favorite female actors: Claudine Auger, Anita Strindberg, Ornella Moody, Barbara Bach, Edwidge Fenwick, and then Florinda Bolkan. My favorite female performance, I think I am going to say Edwidge Fenwick. When I think of The Strange Vice of Mrs. Wardh, Edwidge Fenwick, I kind of is one of the things I just think about. Favorite director for Giallo in 1971? Ooh, this is so hard for me to choose. I think I have to say, based off of my top 10 Giallo films for 1971, how I rank them, I think I have to go to Sergio Martino, because they're two great films that came out in 1 year, and one of those films was his debut, and that carries a lot. If you start strong, it's a really good sign for me. And again, this isn't to discredit Dario Argento, but I'm not super crazy about Four Flies on Grey Velvet. Anyways, Sergio Martino, good on you. Great debut. Two great films in 1 year. Favorite writer for 1971 is probably Ernesto Gastaldi, because of the 17 films that I covered, I think he wrote 3, maybe 4 in total for that year. And I think Ernesto Gastaldi is probably the best writer in Giallo. Like I said, Fulci is really good too. But in terms of just like a writer, like someone who's dedicated to writing, Ernesto Gastaldi is just pumping these scripts out. So favorite writer goes to Ernesto Gastaldi for 1971. My favorite script. This is a hard one, and I don't know if I can pick a single one. A Bay of Blood has a great script through and through. Strange Vice of Mrs. Wardh also has a great script. A Lizard in a Woman's Skin, great. And Short Night of Glass Dolls. I really don't know if I can pick one of these scripts over the others, but I guess it's a 4-way tie. I guess those are my 4 favorite scripts for 1971. Favorite music, favorite composer. Number 1 composer for Giallo films of 1971 is Ennio Morricone. He did 7 scores this year, and what do you do? Fifth Chord, Short Night of Glass Dolls, Cat o' Nine Tails, Black Belly the Tarantula. I think he did A Lizard in a Woman's Skin as well. Four Flies on Grey Velvet. Believe are all the ones he did. Hands down has to go to Morricone. My favorite score for 1971 Giallo films, The Cat o' Nine Tails. My favorite piece, excuse me if I mispronounce this, but it's Dies Irae by Nora Orlandi. This track is so good, and it was taken by Quentin Tarantino and used in Kill Bill Volume 2, but there's like 2 or so iterations of this song that play throughout the movie, and every time they come in, it's so good. It's so good. Yeah. My favorite scene in Giallo in 1971, and this is one of my favorite scenes in Giallo in general, is from the fifth chord. I talk about it all the time. This is the only scene in a Giallo film that actually had me scared when I first watched it. This scene with the kid locking up the house, and then you hear the music box. You realize in this moment that the kid has just locked himself in the house with the killer. And it's like, not just did you lock him in, but it's like he imprisoned himself in the house. And then he gets chased, and it's just a brilliant scene. It's really frightening. My favorite ending or reveal, Bay of Blood. Bay of Blood is one of my favorite endings.
Mommy, Daddy.
But I will say why it's not my absolute favorite. I love this ending. It makes me crack up every time. I'm the only reason I'm not saying this is my favorite ending is because it doesn't make the movie for me. Like, I think Bay of Blood is just a great Giallo, and the ending is poetic justice. It's a great comeuppance. It fits the movie perfectly, and I like it. But my favorite ending for Giallo in 1971 is the bloodstained butterfly, because that ending, I thought, like, transcended the whole movie. And some people may disagree with me, which is totally fine, but for me, that ending made the whole movie. If it would have been a different ending, handled differently, I probably would have just thought the movie was okay. They play that Tchaikovsky song. The ending in Bloodstained Butterfly is out of nowhere, it kind of becomes this like really poignant and poetic. And it's funny because it's like we see how, like, okay, so Helmut Berger like killed these people so he could get his girlfriend's killer out of jail, because it's like, oh, well, he's obviously not the killer because 2 other murders or however many other murders occurred, so it must not be him. All his plan to get this guy out of jail just so he could personally kill him. And then the way it's shot, where like they start shooting each other and then it's cutting to the flashbacks. And even though the movie pretty heavy-handed, implying that Helmut Berger was this girl's secret boyfriend, the way they reveal it is just beautiful. And I'm kind of a sucker for movies that really am like, yeah, bro, yeah, get it. It's like, yeah, but he still killed people. But I just like it because it actually it made me overlook the fact that I should be judging this guy as a monster. And I'm like, I get it, man. I get it. You loved her. You guys, you had a beautiful romance, and this bastard stole it from you, and you had to do what you had to do in order to get vengeance for her. But it's obviously, it's like, he's not a good guy for doing that. But the movie did a really great job of basically making me care about him in those final moments. And I just think that ending is so well done, and the way how he's, you see his look on his face, and it goes to the memories of her, and she's just sitting there like, with her knees up, her holding her knees, and she's just smiling at him, and he's just like, has this like last little moment where he's remembering their time together, and the camera's pulling out of the room that these 2 men are gonna die in, and the camera will just pivot over to the one body, pivot over to him, pivot over to the body, pivot back and forth as it's pulling out. And these guys aren't going to be found for like months, like, because nobody knows that they went here, and it's like a dilapidated, abandoned building, so it's like these guys probably aren't going to be found for years. But I love that ending. I thought it, like I said, it made the Bloodstained Butterfly for me. I mean, and the movie was already unique on its own, but yeah. Favorite kill. Okay, this is really hard. I'll mention this one first. The Case of the Scorpion's Tail. This one kill is just so deliciously Giallo. It's a great kill that I wanted to mention, but it's not my favorite kill. So here's the thing. There's 2 movies I can pick for favorite kill. One of them has a great Giallo kill, and the other one has 7 great kills. But here's the thing. So A Bay of Blood has the greatest amount of kills in a Giallo. The first kill with the old woman, the German girl, the guy gets a billhook in the face. The double kill with the two people having sex on the bed getting speared. The decapitation scene when Luigi Pistilli spears him. And then the final kill where Luigi Pistilli and Claudine Auger get shotgunned. There's so many great kills in the movie and they're so well done. But I think favorite singular kill, and again, I'm still not sure about this. I do love those Bay of Blood kills, but I can't really say there's one over any of the others that I think is my favorite. But my favorite kill, probably singularly for 1971 in Giallo, is Black Belly of the Tarantula. This kill reminds me of why I love the one kill in The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. They're very similar. There's a lot of sex and violence, but it's done in a tasteful way. You don't see the violence and you don't see the nudity. But Black Belly of the Tarantula is, I think, in this scene especially, kind of shows how it was made to be a clone of The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. And some people might say, how can you say that? And it's like, well, come on. Like, of a lot of these movies were trying to bank on how successful The Bird with the Crystal Plumage is. And I think Black Belly of the Tarantula is probably the one that did it the best, at least in that first year coming off of its success. So that kill is my favorite. All right. And now my top 10 Giallo films of 1971. Number 10. This is actually a tie. The Case of the Scorpion's Tail by Sergio Martino and Four Flies on Grey Velvet by Dario Argento. I don't know if I can pick one over the other. I do like both of these films. Four Flies, there's a lot of stuff that bothers me. I will say this about Four Flies on Grey Velvet, though. I love the music. The atmosphere is really good. And the killer, not when you find out who it is, but the aesthetic of the killer with the mask and was wearing like a little tuxedo or something. I love that look. That is easily my favorite look of a killer in Giallo. But when I saw Four Flies on Grey Velvet for the first time, I felt very underwhelmed. And I do like the ending, but I can't shake the fact that I felt very underwhelmed by that movie, and I do think it is the weakest in the Animal trilogy. The Case of the Scorpion's Tail, it's got an Ernesto Gastaldi script, so it's always gonna pull the rug out from under you at the end. I do like it, although Gastaldi's scripts can get kind of predictable, where the guy who's the romantic guy who's helping out turns out to be the killer. It happens like in almost all of his scripts, so if you kind of catch on to that, it's like not really a surprise in this movie. But yeah, I do like The Case of the Scorpion's Tail. Maybe I like it a little bit. I can't even say I like it a little bit more than Four Flies, because the truth is I think it's probably a more competent movie. But when Four Flies is batting, batting correctly, and it's batting right, it's hitting home runs. So that's the thing, is Four Flies, it's got better moments in my opinion, but there's just a lot of stuff in that movie that I don't really like. But again, I'm not saying I don't like the movie. Obviously, it's in my top 10 of these movies, and there's 6 other movies that I could have chosen. But that's it. It's a tie between those two. Number 9, The Bloodstained Butterfly. I do like this movie. Like I already said, the ending really made it for me. And that's not to say that I thought the movie was bad, going into the ending, or it was boring. It was different. There's not a lot of Giallo movies that are this type of court drama. So that was really cool. That was really, really interesting. And this was, again, I want to say this was a first effort on Duccio Cesare. This is a great first Giallo. I do like the movie. There is some stuff, like I've said, that the movie kind of lays it out for you, kind of spells it out for you a little too obviously, that Helmut Berger's character knew the girl who was murdered. He was clearly the guy that she was having her secret rendezvous with. The movie is not subtle in the slightest about hiding that. And so I think if you get to the end and you're like, what? He was her boyfriend? It's like, were you not paying attention? Yeah. But despite that, it sticks the landing, which is so weird because it did everything to trip over itself, but it's a good movie. Number 8, Death Walks on High Heels. This might be my favorite Luciano Ercole Giallo. I think I do like this over Forbidden Photos and over Death Walks at Midnight. It just feels like a really good kind of whodunit. Again, it's kind of obvious that it has to be Frank Wolf's character. It has to be, because otherwise it would be her boyfriend. The killer, he's got a balaclava on, he's got contacts in, and he's using a voice changer, but he's got a British accent. And they're trying too hard to have her boyfriend be the red herring. And all these other red herrings that they introduce in the movie, like Jorge Rigaud's character and the hired help, the guy who's like a little like a pervert, other red herrings, but it's like, but they can't be the person who was in Paris, who was stalking Nieves Navarro. So it kind of has to be Frank Wolf's character, because I mean, he was there. Regardless, I think it's a good script. I think it's a good movie. It's very different. The whole jewel heist plot, and I don't have a whole lot of bad things to say about the movie. I thought it was very refreshing, and I thought it was a fun ride. And I like the two constables. I like the two Scotland Yard detectives. I thought they had good chemistry together. And for a couple guys who you don't really see return to the genre, I think they did a really great job. They're probably up there with some of my favorite detectives in the genre. Number 7 is A Lizard in a Woman's Skin. This kind of falls into this Fulci category of his early Giallo films where I recognize that it's really good, but there's just something about it that like I don't totally adore. I love the movie. I love Fulci. It's a great movie. It's a great like mystery, figuring everything out, and that the reveal has been ripped off recently. Anyways, great movie. Check it out. Number 6 is The Black Belly of the Tarantula. Like I already stated, this is probably one of the best clones of The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. And again, that's not to undermine this movie and say it's just a ripoff, because it's not. It's doing its own thing. Giancarlo Giannini is great in it. The whole plot with the tarantula venom is used to paralyze the victims, and so the killer can just like kill them while they're feeling all the pain but unable to move. That's brutal, and that's a great little touch that you don't see in a lot of horror. It's a good reveal at the end who the killer is, and the reason is good. Number 5 is The Cat o' Nine Tails. I talked about this in my review for it, that I really like The Cat o' Nine Tails. A lot of times where a Giallo director makes a movie that they kind of don't like or they kind of disown, I always end up liking it. I think this movie, more so than some other Giallo films, is a good krimi hybrid with Giallo. Yeah, the atmosphere and the tone is really good. Some of the kills are super brutal. I wish we could see the movie he wanted to make, but what we got, I think, is a good movie, and it just makes me wonder what he wanted to do, because he really seemed like he was upset that they interfered. Cat o' Nine Tails, great. Number 4, this is where it starts getting hard to place my favorite. But I'm going to say number 4 is A Bay of Blood. I think the movie is good through and through. I think it's entertaining. I think it's like, it's never slow or boring. There are some moments with the kids that kind of feel like, what are we doing? Why are we watching this? But those kids show up and get killed off pretty freaking quickly. And I love that, because it kind of introduces the slasher trope. I guess you'd call it a trope in slasher films of the tangential kills. You introduce these characters that are just there to get killed. Like they don't push if I recall, they don't push the plot. They just show up to increase the body count. And like, if you cut them out, the movie would be fine. But oh my God, it makes the movie so much better that these 4, 5 kids show up and just get brutally murdered. It really helps with the movie. But again, Bava's great, never really drops the ball in any of his Giallo films, and A Bay of Blood is classic and really is one of his better efforts and one of the better films of 1971. I just personally, got some others that I enjoy more. Number 3, this is where it starts getting hard because honestly, these top 3 movies I am still struggling with in placing. So when I get to number 1, I might honestly, like a day later or while I'm editing this, feel like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't have chosen this. So this is one I really considered for number 1. But anyways, number 3, Short Night of Glass Dolls. Very, very original. You don't see anything like this in Giallo. It's a great debut effort from Aldo Lado, who makes some of my favorite Giallo movies. It's a really good, compelling script. The story is again, I love these movies where you're just following a guy who's in love and he's trying to figure out what happened. So Short Night of Glass Dolls reminds me of The Possessed, because there's a very similar thing going where, like, what happened to the girl I love. I'm going to undertake this investigation to find out and get some retribution. And the way that the movie unfolds, where you see that this guy is in this death state, this near death state. Everybody thinks he's croaked, but he's still alive and conscious in his own mind, which is a terrifying concept. I mentioned this like a year ago, that the movie is doing in medias res, in terms of like, let's start in the middle and then let's go back and see what happened earlier. And in most movies, when that happens, I just roll my eyes. I just hate that. Anytime I see that in a horror movie, I roll my eyes, because it's like, dude, just start where the story starts. But Short Night of Glass Dolls nails this, because he doesn't remember what happened to him. All he knows is he's like, I'm alive, but they think I'm dead. What happened? I have to remember. And he's frantically trying to recall what happened before something happens to his corpse. And he unravels the mystery, and he's still unable to do anything. He actually is able to somewhat move, but he's overpowered. Yeah, again, this is such a great script and a great movie, and I really want to say it's number 1, but I don't know. What else do I have to say about Short Night of Glass Dolls? This is maybe one of John Sorrell's best roles. I think it's a really great investigation, and the way how it goes backwards in time, backwards, forward is it's just done so well. It's this type of thing in someone else's hands easily could have been fumbled, and Aldo Lado nailed it. Number 2, again, I really could say number 1 also, but I'm gonna say number 2 is The Strange Vice of Mrs. Wardh. This movie is awesome. The music really does make it for me. If you change the music, I'd probably still like it, but Nora Orlandi's score really ranks this up there. Like, as a debut film for Sergio Martino, it's so well shot. It's so well directed. The editing, everything about the presentation of it, along with the music, lifts this movie. And then the script, the Ernesto Gastaldi's script, it has one of those just wild endings where they kind of throw everything at you. It's amazing, and like the hypnotic kind of flashback dream sequences are crazy. It probably could be more graphic with some of the kills, but most of my favorite scenes though are those flashbacks. And then anytime she sees Ivan Rasimov, her ex-boyfriend, the music plays again. It just kind of echoes in the background. It's great, but it's number 2. And number 1, my favorite Giallo film of 1971 is The Fifth Chord. I love Luigi Bazzoni. I think he needed to have made more Giallo films, and we only got a fistful, and everything he did I think is great, especially The Fifth Chord. I think The Fifth Chord is one of the best Giallo films that isn't by Bava, Argento, Fulci, Martino. And the few Giallo films that Bazzoni gave us, I just think are all terrific. After Bird of the Crystal Plumage, it was more like, this is the format. And The Fifth Chord kind of follows that format. It kind of does its own thing, of course, but you get more of a official investigation. There is a killer. There's an active killer. And I would even say The Fifth Chord is a Bird of the Crystal Plumage clone, but there's just something about it that is very unique. It doesn't feel like it's trying to copy The Bird. But Franco Nero's performance is great. I love watching his character. I love it that he's just this down on his luck alcoholic reporter. I really like the fifth chord. I think the investigation is great. The reveal, like I said, the reveal is a little weird. Like, oh, whoa, wait, what? I don't know. Like, Bazzani just has this way of doing his films that feels the least like an exploitation film or someone who's kind of just, like some of the other directors can kind of feel like they know what works in the genre and they're exploiting that. And that, not to say that they're exploitation directors, but Luigi Bazzani always just comes off to me as the most unique in how he directs his films, and he feels like an auteur director that decided, I'm going to make a Giallo film. And so The Possessed has that quality. The fifth chord, which is the most Giallo-like of his 3 Giallo films, has it. And then Footprints on the Moon, which again, some people will say that's not a Giallo, but like, sure it is. Also wildly unique, and yeah, all his films kind of just have this art film quality without being too pretentious for like an American viewer. Like I think a lot of people I know that don't watch Giallo films, I think they could watch The Fifth Chord and they would enjoy it. But yeah, anyways, those are my top 10 Giallo films for 1971. Hey, let me know what you think. I know you're probably going to disagree with me, and that's fine. But yeah, give me your top 10, give me your top 5 or top 3 or just your top one. But Strange Vice of Mrs. Wardh, Lizard in a Woman's Skin, The Fourth Victim, The Cat o' Nine Tails, The Black Belly of the Tarantula, The Night Evelyn Came Out of the Grave, Slaughter Hotel, The Case of the Scorpion's Tail, An Ideal Place to Kill / Oasis of Fear, The Iguana with the Tongue of Fire, Four Flies on Grey Velvet, The Fifth Chord, Cold Eyes of Fear, A Bay of Blood, The Blood-Stained Butterfly, Short Night of Glass Dolls, and Death Walks on High Heels. Tell me what your favorite films are. Tell me what your favorite performances are, what your favorite score is. Honestly, any of the things that I talked about, I invite you to share with me in the comments, because I've got a lot of people who frequently comment, and I just love picking your brains. I love hearing not just what you think is the best, but why. And I think that's just a very interesting thing also about the genre, is that different things speak to different people. Like I was mentioning how I have this soft spot for male characters that are tragically in love in a way that like they don't win, and like their grief of their love kind of carries them into this obsession of either seeking vengeance or just like closure. I love that. That speaks, I don't know why that speaks to me, but it does. So please tell me your thoughts, any of the things I mentioned. Favorite actors, your favorite performance, favorite directors or writers or composer, score, piece of music, favorite scene, favorite ending reveal, favorite kills, favorite script, anything. I invite it. Leave it in the comment section. Otherwise, questions for me, thoughts, curiosities, concerns. Do you have concerns? I hope not. Anyways, this has been fun. These are always a little stressful for me to do because it's just a talking head. None of this stuff is scripted. I do have like the things written out in terms of this is what's in my top 10, but I don't have anything pre-planned what I talk about, and I think that probably comes off as like I'm just kind of rambling. But yeah, thank you for watching, and if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. I have a lot of people who watch my videos on my channel who are not subscribed, and it really, really does help me. If you want to actually have conversations with me, there's a good handful of people that'll tell you. Message me on the King and Giallo Instagram. Got to plug the Patreon. I will be honest, it's very hard for me to create content for this channel and get things up every week, as well as put up content that is exclusive to the Patreon. So there is some content that is on the Patreon that you can only find there, but I have not been able to backfill it with as much stuff as I would like. But I'm at a point where if you support me monetarily, your name is going in the end, my patron panel or whatever you call it, where you can see your name. So if you want to support me directly, Patreon is going to be the place to do it, because they do take a little bit out. YouTube is YouTube is hard. YouTube, they only pay you out once you kind of break 100, and I finally broke 100 today. So yes, if you want to reach out to me, you can do it. I'm not one of these channels that's so big that I don't respond to the comments, or I'm like, I'm too busy, leave me alone. Oh, I got 50 unread messages. Like, it's not like that. So yes, comments. Let's have discussions in these comments. This is Tanner Leeser for The King in Giallo, and if nothing else, I'll see you next time.
Hey, you, Frenchman! Come back at once!